That says Wawa. That's you. That's Papa.
It's me and that's you.
Oh,
And that says Wabra.
Laura. She's
And
smart.
me and Mudge.
Everybody want to read. Cute body. She's a cute body and see.
The first story is called The
You're a
Snow
cute
Glory.
body.
When the
Listen to
snow
Gray.
melted and spring came, Henry and his dog Mudge stayed outside all the time. They saw some buddies and they swang in the swing, and Mudge watched the squirrels in the trees. Well, Henry had missed riding his bike.
That's dangerous.
Mudge had missed chewing on sticks, and they were so glad it was warmer. And then one day, when Henry and Mudge were in their yard, Henry saw something blue on the ground. He got closer to it. "Mudge!" he called. "It's a flower!" Mudge slowly walked over, and he sniffed the blue flower. Then he sneezed all over Henry. "Oh, Mudge!" Oh, he got sneezed all over. Later, Henry's mother told him that the flower was called a snow glory. "Can I pick it?" Henry asked. "Oh, no, no, no," said his mother. "Let it grow." So Henry didn't pick it. Every day he saw the snow glory in the yard, blue and looking so pretty. He knew he shouldn't pick it. He was trying not to pick it, but he thought how nice it would look in a jar on the table. He thought how nice to bring it inside. He thought how nice it would be to own that snow glory. And every day he stood with Mudge and he looked at that flower. Mudge would stick his nose into the grass all around the snow glory, but he never looked at it the way Henry did. "Don't you think the snow glory has been growing long enough?" Henry would ask his mother. "Let it grow, Henry," she would say. Oh, Henry wanted that snow glory, and one day he just knew he had to have it. So he took Mudge by the collar and he stood beside that snow glory. "I'm gonna pick it," he whispered to Mudge. "I've let it grow a really long time." Henry bent his head and he said in Mudge's ear, "And now I need it." And Mudge wagged his tail and he licked Henry's face, and then he put his big mouth right over the snow glory and he ate it. "Oh, Mudge," Henry said, but it was too late. There was a blue flower in Mudge's belly. "I said need it, not eat it," shouted Henry. He was so mad because Mudge took his flower, and it was Henry's flower, and Mudge took it. And Henry almost said, "Bad dog," but he stopped. He looked at Mudge, who looked back at him with his big brown eyes and the flower inside his belly.
He didn't know.
Henry knew it wasn't his snow glory. He knew it wasn't anybody's snow glory. It was just a thing to let grow, and if someone ate it, it was just a thing to let go. So Henry stopped, feeling mad, and he put his arm around Mudge's big head. "Next time, Mudge," he said, "try to listen better." Mudge wagged his tail, and he licked his lips, and one blue petal fell from his mouth into Henry's hand. Henry smiled and he put it in his pocket, and they went inside. And that's Henry and the snow glory. And then one day in April, it rained day after day after day after day, and Henry was getting really bored, and Mudge was chewing up everything inside the house. So Henry said, "Let's go play outside anyway, Mudge." And he put on his raincoat and his sneakers and went outside with Mudge. But Henry forgot to ask his father if that was all right. When Mudge stepped into the wet grass, he lifted his paws and he shook them. "Too bad you don't have sneakers," Henry said, and he walked in a circle around Mudge. Squish, 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 squish. Mudge listened and he looked at Henry, and then he got closer to Henry and he wagged his tail and he shook all the water from his big wet furry body all over Henry. And Henry wiped the water from his face. "Oh, Mudge," he said. The two of them went walking. And down the road, they found a big puddle, a giant puddle, a lake puddle, an ocean puddle, and Henry said, wow. He started running. Mudge got there first. Splash! Muddy water went all over Mudge. Splash! Muddy water went all over Henry. It was the biggest, deepest puddle they had ever seen, and they loved it. When Henry's father called for Henry and he didn't find him, he went outside and he looked down the road. Splash, he heard. He put on his raincoat and he went for a little walk. Splash! Henry's father saw Mudge with a muddy face and a muddy tail and all the muddy in between. Henry's father saw Henry with a muddy face and muddy sneakers and muddy all in between. And he yelled, "Henry! No more splashes!" Just a boy and a dog dripping. "Hi, Dad," Henry said with a little smile. Mudge wagged his tail. "Henry, you know you should have asked me first," Henry's father said. "I know," said Henry. "I'm surprised at you," Henry's father said. "I'm sorry," said Henry. "I don't know what to do with you," Henry's father said, and Henry looked real sad. And then Mudge wagged his tail, and he licked Henry's hand, and he shook the water from his big, wet, furry body all over Henry and Henry's dad. "Mudge!" Henry yelled. Henry's father just stood there with a muddy face and muddy shoes and muddy in between. He looked at Mudge, and then he looked at Henry, and then he looked at that big puddle. And then he smiled. "Wow," he said, and he jumped right in. He splashed water on Mudge. He splashed water on Henry. And he said, "Next time, ask me to come along, Henry." And Henry said, "Sure, Dad." And Henry splashed his dad back. And they had the most fun splashing each other, didn't they?
Where's his mom?
I guess she's inside making dinner. The last story, remember? The kittens. In May, the cat who lived next door to Henry and Mudge had a litter of kittens, and there were 5 kittens. One was orange, one was gray, one was black and white, and 2 were solid black. Remember their names?
What's that one name?
Do you remember?
Which one?
The kittens sometimes stayed in a box in their front yard to get some sun while the mother cat rested. One day Henry and Mudge peeked inside the box. They saw tiny little kitten faces and tiny little kitten paws and heard tiny little kitten meows. Mudge sniffed and sniffed and he wagged his tail.
What's that one called?
Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. Henry and Mudge visited them in their box, and Henry loved their little noses. Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. They're named after the planets in the sky. While Henry was at school one day, a new dog came up Henry's street. The 5 little kittens were sleeping in a box in their yard, and Mudge was sleeping in Henry's house. When the new dog got closer to Henry's house, Mudge's ears went up. When the new dog got even closer to Henry's house, Mudge's nose went up in the air. And just when the new dog was in front of Henry's house, Mudge barked.
Annie.
He barked and barked until Henry's mother opened the door, and just as Mudge ran out the door, the new dog was in the neighbor's yard, looking at the kitten's box.
Look at that one.
Yes. So what did Mudge do? He went snap with his teeth when he saw the new dog, and he went snap with his teeth again when the new dog looked into the box of kittens. Uh-oh. Mudge isn't going to let the new dog get near those kittens, is he? He's telling that new dog, no, stay away from the kitties.
What if he bites his tail?
Well, he might. Let's see if he does. Mudge growled, He looked deep into the eyes of the new dog. He stood ready to jump. And then the new dog just backed away from the box. He didn't want the kittens anymore. He just wanted to leave, so he did. Mudge looked into the kitten box and he saw 5 tiny faces. 5 tiny
Jupiter.
faces, 5 skinny tails. Mars,
Mars.
Earth,
Earth.
Saturn,
Saturn.
Venus.
Is that Venus?
Yeah.
Venus.
And he licked all 5 kittens. Then he lay down beside the box and he waited for Henry. Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn all went back to sleep.
Is there one more?
No, there's 3 stories. Are you ready to go to sleep?
Papa, can you?
No, we already read it. It's time for bed.